Morning guys, and welcome back to I Like Watches. Today I am reviewing a Seiko Recraft. Not just any Seiko Recraft though, my favourite Seiko Recraft. A little while ago I bought 3 of these watches from Jomashop. I unboxed them and shared my first impressions in a video on I Like Watches too, and there was one clear standout. This one, the SNKP23. This is a lovely watch. It's got that sort of vintage retro aesthetic. It's a better size than the others. The other 2 that I looked at were just a little bit too big and chunky for me. They looked good, and actually I thought those ones would be the ones that I would gravitate towards. But yeah, in the unboxing it became very clear that this is actually, for me anyway, the very best one. And Jomashop are currently selling it for less than $140. It is an automatic Seiko watch and it's less than $140. I think that's pretty good. So in this video, I'm going to review it. I'll run through all the facts, figures, stats and specifications, run through some green thumbs up and some red thumbs down. I'm going to show you some lovely macro shots, and I am doing them a little bit differently these days. So yeah, I hope you appreciate them. Little summary at the end, and then hopefully at the end of this video, you'll know whether or not you're going to head over to Jomashop and buy one through my affiliate link. It'd be awesome if you did, but don't worry if you don't. There's lots of other watches out there, and I'm sure you'll probably see most of them on these channels at some point. Right, let's get on with it. Right, let's start off then with a wrist shot on my roughly average 7¼ inch-ish wrist. I think the size of this watch is perfect for my wrist. I've already mentioned it. The other 2 that I took a look at, I think were too big for me. There are plenty of people out there with bigger wrists than me, and the other 2 watches do look really, really good. But yeah, I just feel this one is the perfect size for my wrist, and I do love the shape of the case. Really strong, sort of vintage retro vibes, hence it is a Seiko Recraft. The weight is good, it's comfortable on my wrist, only 2 micro adjusts, but I have managed to get a near perfect fit. The weight distribution is pretty good. The links on the bracelet are folded. They're not solid stainless steel, but it doesn't feel like there's too much weight in the case actually, so it does feel well balanced on my wrist. Yeah, I am thrilled with this one, I've got to say. I think it represents a fantastic value for money. But let me now run through the dimensions and all the other facts, figures, stats and specifications. Under 40mm in diameter. Thickness is just under 12, case length 45.7, lug width is 22, and the bracelet tapers down to just under 20. On the supplied strap it weighs 147 grams. That is surprising actually, that is dive watch territory. It really didn't feel like 147 grams actually. According to the Jomashop listing, it is hardlex, and I can confirm, well, it's definitely not sapphire crystal. No AR coating on the crystal either, sadly. There's another piece of crystal in the display case back. That's also mineral crystal. You've got the Seiko signature and some specifications there. It is a screw down case back. The crown is a pull-push crown with 2 positions, giving the watch 50 meters of water resistance, predominantly stainless steel construction, even though the bracelet is folded and you can see those creases on the links there. The case is, well, it's a mix of brushed and polished surfacing. You have a very nice brushed top surface, look at that, and it seems beautifully done actually. The polishing seems okay. It's a little bit streaky if you zoom right in, but actually for this price point it is pretty good. The bracelet has a mix of brushed and polished surfaces as well. You've got push pins. You do have solid end links, although you've got hidden lugs, so the end links are basically just, well, links like the rest of the bracelet. And when I say solid, it's not the traditional hollow, it's still a folded link. The clasp, it's got a fairly short outer shell, which is nice because you get a good continuation of the bracelet. It's signed, a couple of micro adjusts, but as I said already, I have somehow managed to get a pretty much perfect fit. I actually wore this watch out to the pub last night and I had every intention of taking some nice photos of it on my wrist. It was extremely comfortable to the point where, well, I actually forgot I was wearing it, and the moment a beer was put in front of me, all thoughts of taking photos of this watch disappeared out the window. Yeah, I was at the Oakingham Bell in Wokingham. It's very nice there. As is often the case with affordable Seiko watches that contain the 7S26 movement, the money is, well, mainly in the case and the dial, and this watch is no different. The bracelet and the clasp are a little bit, they're okay for this watch, but it is the case shape. The finishing on the case is okay. But the case shape and the dial where, well, this is really where this watch earns its money. I've got to say, I'm actually very, very impressed with the dial. The applied indices have those very fine cuts in them that I've raved about on the Grand Seiko that give that sort of rainbow effect. That seems to have been very, very nicely done. I'm a little bit disappointed that there's no loom on this dial. These circular pips at the 5-minute or hour markers, well, you would expect them to be loomed, but I can't see any loom on this watch. Let me just test that again. Hang on a minute. Yeah, look, there's nothing, and it even looks like there should be some loom on the hands. Let me try a different torch. I am just finding it hard to believe that there's no loom on this dial because, well, look at those hands. It really does look like there should be some loom. That, or it is just so shocking that no amount of UV light or, well, light from this torch is actually going to generate any illumination. Let's have a look. Nothing. I mean, that is a surprise, isn't it? Anyway, let's forget about the loom and get back to well, the main strength of this watch, which is the case shape and the dial. The execution of the dial is really, really cool. Very, very strong retro vintage vibes. You've got that sort of dropped lower inner circle with this really cool sort of outer chapter ring, if you like, which fits the case shape. Yeah, it looks really good. A fading blue dial towards the centre of the dial. Really interesting frame around the day-date complication as well. The hands, well, they do look quite short for the watch, but they do reach right out to the, well, outer edges of that inner circle. So I guess it works. It's just a cool dial. A few specks under the crystal. Nothing too serious. So yeah, it seems to have been done very, very nicely. And yeah, I love it. I think it looks fantastic. Now, I think this watch, and I guess this summary, is going to be a bit of an odd one because I have, as usual, made a list of what I consider to be the strengths and weaknesses. And for this particular watch, the list of weaknesses is actually longer than the list of strengths, but it's still a watch that I'm definitely going to recommend. I'll explain why in a minute. Let me just quickly run through what I consider to be the watch's strengths and weaknesses. It's very comfortable, great weight distribution and fantastic spring bar to spring bar length. It really is a comfortable watch. The case finishing is surprisingly good and the dial finishing I think is exceptional for this price point, and I love the applied indices and the applied logo under the 12. I was not expecting that. The alignment seems to be very, very good, okay. There's no rotating bezel for them to get wrong, but all the applied indices and those circular pips, which you would expect to be loomed but are not, all that seems to line up very, very nicely. Yeah, the date frame, or day date frame, and just generally that complication also seems to be nicely lined up. I love the design, really cool retro design. I was expecting it to wear bigger because it's got a squarish sort of case, and square cased watches tend to wear bigger than their dimensions suggest, but not this one. And the price, less than $140 for an automatic Seiko with this case and this dial. I do think that is exceptional value, and I strongly recommend this watch despite this rather large list of weaknesses. The movement 7S26, I think that's discontinued now, but it is their super entry level movement, so no hacking and no hand wind, so you've got to give it that sort of Seiko shuffle. Hardlex crystal, no AR coating. It would be too much for us to expect Seiko to put sapphire crystal in here, but still that is going to put quite a few people off. Folded links, yeah, those creases down the side tend to look a little bit ugly when the light catches them, don't they? Pressed clasp, only 2 micro adjusts, but the most disappointing thing for me is, well, those circular loom pips and what seems to be loom strips on the hands, which I just don't think they are. I tried 2 different light sources and none of them seem to generate any light on the dial. So yeah, that is an odd one to me. Why make it look like there's loom when there isn't? Just put loom on it, for goodness sake. But anyway, despite all those weaknesses, and there is probably other weaknesses that I haven't covered, It's an awesome watch. I love it. So yeah, huge list of weaknesses, but still a watch I strongly recommend, and less than $140. You know, all too often we criticise Seiko for there not being any affordable, good value for money Seikos out there. I guess it is only affordable because Jomashop are selling it half price, but still, I mean, it's a cracking watch. And yeah, if you're interested in your Recraft watches, I hope this video has helped you settle on, well, potentially this one. It's definitely the one I prefer. I think there's a few others out there that I haven't seen, but out of the ones I have seen, this is the one I would definitely recommend. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, as always, for watching. I do really, really appreciate it. What did you think of the new macro shots? I love taking these macro shots. I think they look awesome. All your focus is on the watch. Yeah, pretty sweet, aren't they? Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Look after yourselves. You'll see me again very, very soon.